replace Lower Decks lines with Gordon Ramsay lines instead, when they're shouting at each other. I think it'd be hilarious. Right, I think we're live here on YouTube, as you just caught the tail end of our conversation. Yeah, it's all working. Welcome everyone to Star Trek, Trek Central. That's not what we're called Trek Central's weekly live stream series. We're back with Discovery, Lower Decks, Star Trek Day. It's one of those weeks again. We're discussing episode 6 of Lower Decks. So we're halfway through. We've began to lose the plot here. So as you can tell, it's going to be a very good stream. Joining me are my fantastic co-hosts this evening, Nicholas and Dominic. How are you gentlemen doing?
Doing fantastic, Jacqueline. How are you?
That was alright till I made that joke.
Yeah, that's fine.
Now, of course, Dom has beamed into some other person's quarters this evening, and he's got a new background. Hopefully he'll have a permanent one soon, which we can start checking out a bit.
Been moving a lot, so I'm here for
so much so you've had to make your shirt out of the bed.
No.
Strong no. Right, I'm just going to share the tweet out for a minute. There we go. We're live. If you gentlemen would like to retweet that, I think I have tagged the correct Dom. If not, somebody else is turning up this week.
That's okay.
We're good. Yeah. Okay.
It's a new and improved Dom.
That's it's the non-bed shirt, Dom.
That's right.
Hey, it's not a red shirt. It's a bed shirt.
Oh,
see?
Yeah.
I'm here from 9 till 10, everyone.
And
yes,
to all people in chat, we apologise for these really bad jokes.
How dare you? This is the level of comedy,
top-tier comedy
people expect.
Dominic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dominic.
Not all of us can sit around wearing our bed sheets with beanies on, talking about Star Trek.
Yep.
Okay.
And we are talking about Star Trek.
We are.
We are.
So our first thing to talk about today, because this last week we've had a ton of Star Trek stuff, and honestly, it feels like this week has been a year almost practically. We've had Star Trek Day, I also had Lower Decks episode 6. With the Star Trek Day, we've also had Discovery season 3 news on Lower Decks, a tease of the sort of I guess you'd call it a mid-season trailer. There's been a ton of stuff this week. Yeah. It's been fantastic. So I think we should start talking about the big thing, or the elephant in the room, which of course is the Discovery season 3 trailer. That there has given us a glimpse of what to expect from this season. It's not like a teaser. This is the full-blown trailer for Discovery season 3. And it looks fantastic. I am loving the new look of Discovery, should I say, for the third season. I am super excited to actually dive into that on October 15th, isn't it, on CBS All Access. And they did confirm that it is on Netflix on October 16th. So Nick, take it away. I've not spoken to you this week. What did you think of the Discovery season 3 trailer?
It's funny you mentioned that it felt like this week has been very long, because when I saw that you put Star Trek Day on the agenda for today, I was thinking to myself, like, wasn't that like a year ago? Like, that feels like it was a really long time ago. Didn't we already talk about that? But really, it's not. It actually just happened. For a trailer, obviously there's some really interesting bits in the trailer that, that of course get the theory gears turning. But talking about it from a marketing standpoint for the show, as a trailer, I think it knocked it out of the park. When you I compare that to the very first trailer that they did of season 2 of Discovery, which people really didn't like, and it had a very weird tone to it. It had like it had like a weird pop song over it, which was not what people really were interested in. It was very reminiscent to the first trailer that they did for Star Trek Beyond, which was also a disaster, and then they redid the trailer and it was much better.
Hey, I like that. So I liked it.
Yeah, right. So this trailer was really, really well done. I don't know if they went to a different company to get this trailer made as opposed to ones that they've used in the past, or if they made this in-house, which is possible. This was just fantastic. It was, we were getting lots of great footage, lots of little Easter eggs. It did the exact job that it needed to do. It showed us a bunch of things and told us nothing. And that's really the best way to kind of build excitement, which is I want answers to all of the questions that I have now about what's going on in Discovery season 3. And I think it was very effective. I think the reaction to it online, from fans of Star Trek, I think it was very positive. I think people really liked it quite a bit. I have so many theories about the trailer. But yeah, it was a great trailer, though.
I totally agree with you. I'll let Dom explain in a minute. But as soon as we watched that trailer, the theories we started having there, and Dom's going to explain something in a minute about what the burn is and how sort of the galaxy's kind of like falling apart in a way, and the Federation is there, but they're not there, etc. So many theories. So I'm going to hand it off to Dom in a minute to explain some of the theories about the burn, and he can take it away.
Ooh, we're talking about the burn. Okay. So yeah, when me and Jack were watching the trailer, we both instantly thought that the burn is related to the Omega molecules, which you see in Star Trek Voyager, the episode The Omega Directive. And it would really tie the whole trailer together and explain a lot of what's happened. Because for those who don't know, the Omega molecule provides like infinite energy, but highly unstable. So destabilizes and destroys subspace and renders warp travel inoperable. So if a large amount of Omega molecules destabilized, Federation would be pretty destroyed, because all their vessels that were at warp would come to a massive deceleration and probably blow up. They can't use faster than light travel to get to other places. Everyone's disconnected, and with the rupture of subspace, no one will be able to talk to each other, which is probably why we've been told that the Federation is still out there. But a lot of, especially Booker, he thinks the Federation is a ghost because he's heard like nothing. And it could be from this massive, everyone's isolated. And further evidence to support this theory is, I think in the episode Omega Directive, species 262, I think they are, they experienced a Omega molecule detonation, and they described it as the sky burning. So I would really love this to be what we see in season 3, and especially it explains why Discovery is wanted by people, by this 900-year-old ship.
Right.
People want it, and it's because it's got the only propulsion system that can move about the galaxy now, not have to be in cryopods or whatever.
The whole Omega idea sounds like fantastic, to be honest. And like the idea that the support drive is so important now, it all logically makes sense. But also it's like it could be a red herring in a way where it's like it's designed to make us think like that. Because we well know of Discovery and modern Star Trek in general is like, oh yeah, you think it's this, but actually it's this. And you know, they could play a whole different idea. Because the Next Generation also explored the idea behind sort of space being, or basically not being able to have like FTL travel in a while. And that was like a standalone episode of something like that. So it's like whether that will also be explored, I'm not entirely sure. But there's plenty of ideas ago. And someone did just say in the chat there, which I've seen a little bit what people were saying, is like, I hope the burn isn't anything to do with Burnham. I hope not. As much as I like Burnham, if it's something to do with her, I do not want to be there when that one goes online, because that's not going to go down too well.
I don't think you guys know this. When it came out, my first theory was the burn was a play on Michael Burnham. And I was like, oh, that's probably what they're going to do. But then you guys hit me with the Omega theory, the Omega molecule theory. And honestly, I think that's the answer. I think it's the answer. I purposely did not bring it up in my Star Trek Day review video because I was curious to see if other people brought it up independently without me having to put the idea to their heads. And I had a lot of comments on that video too, of people saying the exact same thing, of like, it's this the Omega molecule. I bet you this is what it is. So I think it makes the most sense, and it would tie in a lot of the things from Discovery. Of obviously the whole objective of that, Discovery is to utilize the mycelial network and the introduction of this new technology, and then of course it disappears from the Star Trek canon essentially because they go so far into the future, which is why we don't see it. That's kind of how they tried to, not retcon it, but shove it into continuity without breaking everything apart or trying to repair it in some regards. But it would really pull it all together. And really, I think it gives the Discovery that edge where they may be outmatched in shield technology and, power, and then also weapons, but it has the ability to move around that other ships do not have the capability of doing, which I think is a fantastic way to give this ship that's super old this competitive edge in this galaxy. And also, most likely, the Discovery is probably going to become one of the most sought after pieces of technology inside of the quadrants at that time. And I think we're going to maybe see some cat and mouse, and maybe the Discovery is going to try to, jump back to Earth and see what's going on, because there would just be a lot of stranded starships out there, but Earth itself probably would still be okay for the most part.
Within reason.
Yeah, within reason. Obviously they would probably be able to make really long trips between Earth, Vulcan, and Andoria if they needed to. Definitely not something where supplies would be readily available. But,
well, you kind of look back to Enterprise, because that was I'm watching it, Admit and Dom, you are as well, doing a big rewatch of it. They explain there how long it takes to get between certain like planets. I remember when we was doing the Terra Nova episode to begin with, it took like a 9-year trip just to get there. Obviously, by the 900th, or by 32nd century, sorry, they're going to have like faster traditional speeds rather than FTL, like impulse and more things are faster than they were back in like the 22nd century. How it's still going to take a hell of a long time to go at your normal speed from Earth to Vulcan to Andoria to another colony, etc. So it's going to be interesting. But also, I want to say there, as you mentioned it, Earth should be fine, theoretically. However, you think, technically, although Earth is a part of a federation, it almost is the capital world of the federation in a way, which, some would say, why is it so human-centric in a way? But hey, that's a discussion for another time. But it's like, if, capital worlds, they're usually supplied to keep them, operational, etc. So if you think of it like, I'm kind of thinking like an RTS game in a way, you funnel all your supplies to your capital city, etc. So without FTL and without ships moving around, will Earth be okay? if they run out of supplies? Obviously, they're self-sufficient. You've got replicators, etc. It's just a thought that occurred to me there. It's like, I wonder if Earth will be okay. It should be, but it's like, without supplies and FTL travel. But another point I did want to bring out, obviously, we got a little hint of in a trailer. A few people caught it on Twitter. We caught it as well. Captain Saroo. Because you see him with his badge, and it's got 4 little dots on it, or pins, whatever. How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, it makes the most sense. Yeah, it makes the most sense to me. I think if anybody who's watched the Discovery show up to this point, there's no other logical answer to where Saroo's going to end up. And also, Michael Burnham gets a gold badge as well. So I think he's going to make her his first officer, which would make sense. And that fits the characters
We've come full circle.
Much better. Yes, I think it absolutely comes full circle from where they started at in episode 1, the Battle of the Binary Stars, to where she was the first officer and he was, I think, the second officer. And then now he's kind of the captain, but he's grown more into that role as opposed to Burnham. And yeah, I mean, even just from a narrative perspective, you don't want we can't just have we've gotten away from the captain going on all the adventures. That was kind of a really big thing back in the day, but now the bridge crew needs to kind of do those things and the captain needs to stay on the ship. And I think it's the most natural conclusion.
I totally agree. I really hope, they go swooping out. But also, we did see in the first trailer, which was released last year, Giorgio in what almost appears to be a Federation 21st Century Admiral's uniform. And it's like, I wonder how that's going to play into it. But Dom, you're obviously a big Saroo fan. What do you think of Captain Saroo?
Saroo deserves captain. He has worked so much towards it. We got his development as a leader over season 1, with him checking himself amongst the greats of Starfleet, and then in season 2 we got personal development from Saroo, overcoming fear. So I think he is in a great place to become captain, because at this point he's basically been captain. With Pike, they were kind of like co-captains, so having it official, I'm really proud of my Kelpian boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think if they go any other direction and try to pull out the rug from underneath us and make Burnham the captain, I think we're gonna riot, because it's just not fair. My Kelpian boy, he deserves it. He's earned it. Give him put some fucking respect on his name, okay?
What I do love is he has a moment in the trailer where it's like he's got the senior staff there, or at least the bridge crew. You see Stamets and also Dr. Culber there, and they seem to be sharing some sort of dinner or toast in a way. And he's stood up there. It clearly shows him as a captain. You also see him with what appears to be a Vulcan woman doing the Vulcan salute. And I think he has a potential to be a really great Starfleet captain. If Discovery, supposedly, quote unquote, is meant to go on for the 4th and 5th season, there's plenty of room there to make, Doug Jones as Captain Saroo a really memorable captain for Star Trek, and have these great moments we relate to Picard, Janeway, Sisko, Kirk, Archer, etc., and also Giorgio and many other Starfleet captains. And I am all for that. I want to see that happen. But it does make me question, I wonder how it comes about. And there's plenty of room to theorize on this. Do they go back to the Federation, or they meet them up? Because we see in one scene as well what appears to be this futuristic Federation. And the trailer, hints of that, but it doesn't necessarily say, yes, this is Starfleet in the 32nd century, this is a Federation. It hints it's an organization which somehow resembles them, because you see the woman there going, oh, you're kind of dysfunctional, to be honest, but you do work as a good team, well done. Maybe she's like a future admiral or captain, and she promotes
She
through.
has, I can very much see that her uniform is a advancement of the uniform we saw in the Voyager temporal episodes.
Yeah, definitely.
Time ship
100%.
uniforms where it's like planted.
Because obviously Voyager's time
That
ship
would be cool.
episodes serve as our latest look in terms of the timeline at the future uniforms of Starfleet. Because Daniel's uniform, he had an
Daniel's uniform was
interesting
weird.
dress sense, to say the least.
It
So we
was
didn't
just
really
that
see much
weird
of him.
black thing that he was wearing. Yeah, whatever that
Didn't
was.
look comfortable.
Pajamas.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like pajamas.
Maybe he was
yeah.
making a shirt out of his bedding.
Oh,
Some
another
weird
picture.
bedding.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if that is the connection there. And it wouldn't surprise me if they're going to lean into the Omega molecule, then they're probably going to really lean into, those temporal uniforms and those temporal ships. And because really at that point, you've got really the big three things, which is the Cold War, those temporal ships and those temporal uniforms, and the Omega molecule, all of which is from Star Trek Voyager. And Voyager really dealt most with the future in that regard. So it makes sense that they would put all of those elements in there just to kind of play it all up and connect it all back to Voyager.
They do have to somehow explain how a temporal ships didn't prevent burn. Whether that be through like a temporal prime directive, don't interfere in the future. You can interfere in the past if other people are interfering, but don't interfere in the future because you're meant to develop to that point. So, there are some interesting things that need to be talked about in this season.
Because we know Starfleet and the
Yeah.
Federation has a temporal accords, which is referenced by Daniels in Enterprise. So I wonder if some way we've not really explored the temporal accords that much, but I wonder if it has like a condition or policy. It's like you can't interfere in the future because that is against the future has to be or has to play out how it plays out. You can't interfere in that because else you change the future. And obviously, interfering in the past has effects on the future. But that's another story, realistically, isn't it? I hate time stuff in Star Trek because it gets so confusing sometimes.
But isn't it I think in an undiscovered country when it's like the future is the undiscovered country?
Yeah, I think that's a great quote, really.
And I think Starfleet being like, okay, we're going to alter what our future is kind of like, they want to explore it. They don't want to alter it.
And it's also possible too. They could explain this away because the construct of the Omega molecule and its impact in both subspace and warp travel could extend beyond just that. We don't know everything there is to know about the Omega molecule. If they do go that route, it could be a situation where perhaps time ships were incapable of going past the burn marker. And they don't actually, they just like the ships would never actually make it. Like they would try to plug in those coordinates on the time ships and it would never jump to any time period before, after that, so it's possible as well. Like it rips through time in some regards. It's very possible.
There's like a lot of stuff to explore, man. Like Dom said, I really hope they explore it and don't neglect from it. Personally, I'm a big Enterprise fan. I want the Temporal Cold War spoken about because it's obviously very close to this time thing. Even a reference has something to talk about there. Thank you to Amir for a $5 donation. He says, I don't have the idea of knowing what the future holds, so I hope they get back. I hope they get back with a potential possible new future. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess like one thing is like, I don't know, it's a lot of stuff to theorize about. And when you talk about time, it does get insanely confusing. So I hope there is like some good stuff in there when it comes to that. I've just noticed you've got Clippy in the background.
Oh, Badgie, you mean?
Yeah, or Badgie. I keep calling it Clippy because it reminds me of the Microsoft thing, which I'm pretty sure was called Clippy.
That's exactly what he is. He's the Star Trek version of the Clippy.
That one didn't try to kill me, though. There's a difference.
Well, as far as you know,
Not yet.
You don't know that for sure.
Yeah, that shock the computer gave me. Ow.
Unsuccessful.
It wasn't successful in its attempts to kill you.
So I guess that sort of like beelines us into the next things. We've got plenty to talk about Discovery, and I'm pretty sure we'll talk and theorize more as the weeks go on, particularly when we're 1 week away from it. So for rounding that bit up there, Discovery will air on October 15th on CBS All Access. and obviously CTV Sci-Fi and Crave in Canada. And it will also air on Netflix on October 16th. That's the day after, obviously. So look out for that. Obviously, Netflix is still the international distributor. I did see some stuff online going, oh, no one should have doubted it. In my opinion, it was right to doubt it because CBS weren't being the most communicative when it came to like discussing whether it was on Netflix. And even in the live stream of Star Trek Day, which we'll discuss towards the end of the stream, the roundup of that, they didn't cover the fact it was on Netflix that much. I think they mentioned it once, and then it's at the bottom of the screen in very tidbits of information. Yeah. Only us read that. The average viewer is not going to read the small bit at the bottom of the screen. But yeah, it is on Netflix, so us international people definitely have a place to watch Discovery, which is going to be fantastic. Netflix is a good provider as well. But gents, let's talk about this week's episode of Lower Decks. Excuse me.
Yes.
You love it, you hate it. You know, you guys loved it, didn't you? So Dom, why don't you tell me about episode 6 and what you thought of it, really?
Ooh, I really enjoyed this episode. I think this was the only episode of Lower Decks in which I enjoyed both the A plot and the B plot as the same and as highly. I really enjoyed Clippy. Clippy? You got me saying Clippy now. Badgie was very much it was very much Lower Decks version of Moriarty. You know, in Next Generation with Moriarty, Next Generation's quite, you know, cerebral. So you have a villain, which is, you know, he's plotting how to get control of the Enterprise, whereas Lower Decks, it's more cartoony, let's say. So having Badgie as the Moriarty was great. I really loved when Badgie was dying in the frozen tundra.
Yes.
And there was like this father-son relationship. And it's like, it's over, son. And then just snaps his neck. Yeah. I love that.
It's brutal.
And then the plot with Mariner and Boimler. I thought that was amazing. We got J.G. Hertzler as the voice of the Drokmani captain. I instantly recognized his voice. It was like, oh, so good to hear it again. And they had to deal with Fletcher, who was an interesting character, let's say. Yeah.
The Titan, though. We got a reference to the Titan.
Oh,
we did get a Titan reference. That's true. We didn't get to see it. Still not Alpha Canon design.
I think it would have been great if when Fletcher was talking about being fired, if we just heard like Riker shouting down the.
I was about to say that. You took that from me. You know, in like the behind the scenes of Discovery, where Riker's William Frakes, that's not a name. Jonathan Frakes is directing. William Frakes. Jonathan Frakes is directing. You can hear him shouting, and Anson Mount's going. He thinks he's an actor still, and you just hear Jonathan Frakes going, "Explosions! Boom!" He's like, imagine that as Fletcher's going, "I got fire," and you just hear Fletcher in like Jonathan Frakes' voice. Would have been hilarious. But Nick, what do you think of episode 6? Because telling from the screenshot alone, Clippy there, you know, I'm calling it that now. I'm not calling it.
Clippy. Star Trek Clippy, aka Badgie. I love this episode. Last week's episode was good. It was a solid episode. It was just a good episode. It did not take my top place for sure, but this one really, I think, knocked it out of the park. It moved very quickly, and we had an A, B, and really a C plot. You know, the C plot being the whole scavenger hunters and them wanting to throw trash at the Cerritos, which is such a Lower Decks thing to have happen, where they're just tractor beaming garbage on top of them. I loved that. Really, the whole thing was great. There were so many things happening, like what was going on with the choo-choo dance concert thing. That was crazy. I loved when they were going to go fight the Delta shift or whatever, and they opened up their uniforms like they do back in the older episodes, where they're opening them up and they're like, "Come on, let's go!" And it's like, this is great. Like, I loved it. There were so many fantastic moments. Obviously, Badgie was a kind of stole the scenes, I think, a little bit from the Rutherford and Tendi, but in a good way, though. Like, his character was very interesting, very, very risky to do something like that, because it's really just this crazy zany cartoon, and obviously we're watching an animated show, but he is a cartoon character in an animated show, which is kind of a bit meta in some regards, and it's a little bit of a risk to do that. I mentioned this in my review, like, I feel like they did it smartly by having this character appear later on in the season, because if it appeared earlier on, I feel like it may not have gone over super well because people hadn't really gotten used to Lower Decks yet. But now that we're pretty well used to what's going on and the tones that we're dealing with the show, I felt like it was the perfect opportunity to introduce this kind of zany, kind of wacky character. And it was a bit of a risk, but I think it paid off. I do. I haven't seen really too many people complain about it. I think that's a mixture of people really enjoying it, and then also a mixture of if you hate Lower Decks, you've already stopped watching at this point. So the negative reactions.
Well, not according to some comments.
Well, that's true. That's what I say. For the most part, I think that people really enjoyed it, or they just simply ignore it. I saw very few people who were like, "Oh my gosh," with the blood and the guts, and why was what is this? This isn't the future. Like they're still like, this isn't what Gene would have wanted, and it's like, well, I doubt Gene would have thought to make this character. So I'm just throwing that out there. It's a pretty it's out there for sure. It's really out there. But I loved it though. I thought it was great. I thought the episode was really solid. And I know Mike McMahon has gone on record of saying that the last 3 episodes, specifically episode 8, is supposed to be his favorite, and it's like the best of the first season. And I struggle to see how they're going to top this one because this was pretty good.
I wonder if Q's turning up next week. That'll be interesting.
I was expecting Q to actually.
They started making references this week to Q. They said, blame it on a Q. Nobody knows what they do.
Yeah, so I actually expected the resolution to be like Fletcher mumbles like, "Oh, it's Q's fault," and then on the bridge Q appears. Everyone's like, "I guess it is Q's fault." I expected that's where it was gonna go, but it didn't. I'm looking forward to seeing how Q comes into next couple. Whenever he comes into next couple of episodes.
It's going to be interesting how they introduce him. But another note I want to talk about this episode. I loved Shax in this episode alone. It was fantastic. The moment of what was it? Please don't be targeted by Warp Core. I've been good this month. I've been very good. It's like the poor man just wants to fire phases. And then his moment with Dr. Stano as well, where he turns around and kisses her. It's such a cliche moment in like drama and sci-fi, just turning around and kissing the nearest person next to you. I'm like, it's just Tom. You thought I wouldn't like that. I liked that and found it hilarious. That's the funniest bit of the episode for me. Like I love that part. But the whole like bridge scene, for me, this episode, it was very good. However, I just felt the whole thing of Fletcher, it didn't really intrigue me or interest me personally that much. I was more interested in what was going on the bridge for a change. Like I liked the idea of what they were up to, negotiating these aliens, etc. I personally didn't find the main plot, which is Boimler and Mariner, walking around Fletcher trying to solve stuff, that interesting. I personally found it a little bit predictable in a way. It's like, we're going to go down and check the lower decks and where the other people are. How convenient they also look like us, but slightly different as well. Is that what was one funny thing? It reminds me of that night shift robot chicken thing. Do you remember that one, Nick? Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, it reminded me of that. It's like, the Del shift, they have a night shift, That's what happens when we go and, we sleep, etc. But I did like the whole Rutherford and Tendi thing, that whole thing where when Badgie sort of went rogue and he suddenly beamed down or like materialized in Bajor in the holodeck, ran around putting some cloaks on, then he was walking up. But the moment was like, "Oh, my son, I'm so sorry," snaps neck. I'm like, "Oh, that's a lot, isn't it?" But this episode...
it was a lot. It was. And then like right after he dies, the program resets because the safety procedures are back on. So then it's like he's just there, and I love the little tease there that he definitely remembers everything.
Oh yeah, it's almost like that's gonna.
I want him to come back.
Season 2.
Oh, he's coming back. Are you kidding me? Yeah,
season 2.
Back. Yeah,
I can see that from a mile away. Mariner's cleaning out the holodecks again. Badger just standing behind over a knife or something. It's going to be a little bit weird. But I had
two Moriarty episodes.
Well, yeah, we did actually.
So they're gonna, because it's a TNG thing, so of course they're going to bring back their Moriarty again.
And we know season 2 is now fully written as well, so it's likely he's in it. And obviously, I think Lower Decks will get more seasons. I really wouldn't be surprised if they do 3 or 4, or maybe 5. I think there's plenty of material for them to do lots more Lower Decks. And it seems to be being received really well. I just wish they'd work out an international distributor so everybody can view it, to be honest.
I think it's a good series to have between other series.
Yes.
Almost like a casual refresher.
Between Picard and Discovery, you have your palate cleansed by Lower Decks. Also with delays because of lockdown and everything, Lower Decks is much further ahead, so it can just put in place wherever it needs to be.
Because of the way they make it as well, they're key to like, you know, progress on. They're probably like, now it's being written, I expect pre-production's probably going to, if not it's already underway, it's probably going to be underway in a matter of months, because, you know, they have the resources to do it remotely at home. And speaking of the Star Trek Day panel, which had obviously all the 4 main actors on it, and actresses or voice actors, and also Mike McCann, I think it was Jack Quaid, basically spoke about recording the lines in his closet and the doors behind him. And apparently the orchestra who did the theme, they had to record it all individually and then send it off to be mixed, and they all did it from home. And like, that's just takes some dedication there, doesn't it? Like, imagine doing that. That is honestly mental.
It sounds the normal orchestra.
You don't notice the difference.
Just like, don't notice.
Yeah, you would have never.
And
known.
I tried to listen out for any clue that it was recorded separately, but like.
Do you reckon
very
they're in
well
a
done.
giant Zoom call and the conductor's just sat like in the middle and he's like conducting it from the? That'd be hilarious, wouldn't it?
You know, I bet that they
It would be
probably did
so
that.
out of sync.
Somebody's just having like, you know, a Milky Way bar off in the corner or something like that. You know, so
Yeah,
I can see you
right.
eating.
All it needs is like someone to have bad connection, and it all goes.
Fucks the whole thing up.
Yeah.
That is it, yeah. The whole idea of like doing it remotely from home is like fantastic. So you can't do music over Zoom. I expect you can do music. You can just hold down your mic button. You'll be fine. That's imagine that's how you'd be able to do it.
You can do it, but I feel like they probably had to do that.
Or at least
just
record it
to-
at the same time. Like, we probably streamed each other, but locally recorded it and then set it off. That makes more sense.
That would be a good way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course they probably got together to talk about, you
Yeah.
know, how they make edits and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, the level of effort that these studios, and not just Star Trek, but every movie production and television production studio that's probably going through right now, the level of effort that they're having to put in to get around safety guidelines. I shouldn't say to get around, but to work within the constraints of safety guidelines is enormous, you know. And we, of course, as the consumers of the content, we don't fucking care, you know. Like it's lost on us, the level of effort, but I'm sure it's really exhausting, the work that they're putting in to try to make sure everybody's safe, and then also still do as much work remotely as possible, you know. I mean, I'm sure they're probably even having like big discussions where they're probably redoing sequences on sets and stuff like that, where a lot of the actors probably that would normally be there to either feed lines to the people that were going to be on there, or you know, just different camera angles or whatever. They're going to have a lot of people facing away from the camera, probably because they're going to have a lot of the body doubles present on set because they don't want to have the actors there all the time. You know, I'm just theorizing that, but that's you know, that's going to be something. You know what I mean? Like, that's definitely something that they're probably thinking about.
I mean, we know Strange New World is now waiting to basically kick off in terms of production, because they're writing, so it makes sense that soon they're going to try and like at least start filming a pilot for that. So it's like they're waiting to go, essentially, is what they said. Or kind of what they said in the panel. They didn't say it explicitly, but it's like the impression given is they're waiting to go, essentially. But obviously, at the minute, with lockdown now appearing back around, I don't know how it's going over in the US, Nick, but over here it's like lockdown 2 may be happening any minute now because the cases are going up in Europe. So I expect it's going to follow a trend in the US, which means film productions, which would normally shoot between October and December, may not even happen now if another lockdown wave comes in. Because I know they film in California and Canada, they're kind of very strict on lockdown, as they should be. But it's like, you know, whether that's going to happen again.
Well, the thing is here in the U.S., I mean, most people are just ignoring it. But specifically in California, they don't really even care about it anymore because half of California is literally burned to the ground. So it's because we have something like 200 wildfires happening in California right now. So yeah, they're worried about all these other issues. So who knows? You know, we'll see what happens. I think we've talked about this before, but the likelihood of them even moving the production of like Picard, for instance, to Canada is just really not going to. It's like that's very small. Like the likelihood of that actually happening is it's astronomical. They're going to keep it where it's at, so that may continue to push Picard back. But like Strange New Worlds and Discovery, like I think that they're. Like we have the estimated start dates of their production based off of some of the stuff that we follow online, which is actually in the end of this year, towards the end of this year. And I think that those will probably go through because a lot of other productions have already started in Canada. Like they've already kind of kicked them off. So I think those are going to start. And obviously that's what they're going to want. Whatever one's able to go, that's who's going. So we may actually get Strange New Worlds faster than we originally thought. Very similar to the way this happened with Lower Decks, where we got Lower Decks before Discovery, even though it was supposed to be the opposite.
Yeah.
But, you know, things happen.
To be honest, it's not a bad thing. Yeah, I wouldn't complain if we had Strange New Worlds before, like say Discovery season 4, Picard season 2, etc. I mean, yeah, any chance to see Anson Mount again on our screens with that sexy Enterprise, any day now.
The Disco Prize, yeah.
Exactly. Give me more of the Disco Prize. Chat, what are we saying? They skipped the... what are we going on? Worf and Shax would totally either clash or become the best buds on lower decks. Yeah, that's interesting. So Stress 3K just said, would Worf or Shax like totally either clash or become best buds? For those of us here, I think me and Nick have seen it, Dom, you not so much, Stargate Atlantis. They had an episode where Ronan Dex, who was like the main big bulky character of Atlantis, and then Teal'c from SG-1, who was his main big bulky character, they met in a crossover episode. Originally, I think in the first half, they started fighting and kicking the shit out of each other, to the point where the other main characters placing bets, and then in the second half, they had working together to solve like a crisis that crossed over again. Like that is totally something I could see happening in lower decks if Worf came aboard. It's like Shax's like, well, no, I'm the better security chief. I mean, it'd also be Commander Worf by this time as well. But, yeah, it would be Commander Worf.
Commander Worf.
First
officer of the Enterprise.
Yes, which is awesome.
But I mean, if it happens in season 2, then it might be Captain Worf of the Enterprise.
It depends if they do the years by season.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on how they do the season jumps, because that's another one of those interesting things is how are they going to, because we've talked about this before, is how do we continue to progress the crew of the lower decks team?
Yeah.
And not just have them serve below on the lower decks for forever. Like they have to progress at some point. And obviously they're not shy about giving out promotions on the Cerritos, as we've seen in the last few episodes, last couple of episodes, excuse me. And yeah, how do they continue to do that? And like, how does the time itself within Starfleet, how does that continue to grow? How does that continue to move? And, it'll be interesting to see what the year is at the end of the season leading up into the second season. And I now that we're talking about it, I absolutely think we're going to get the final episode of this one is going to be a two-parter. Traditional classic TNG style where one season to the next, you have a two-parter episode. I think we're going to get a cliffhanger two-parter episode for sure at the end of this one.
Yeah, I fully think the season final of Lower Decks is going to be a 2-season part. I mean, hell, the final episode could be like, oh, we'll be back in season 2 with a cliffhanger ending, like Next Gen was famous for doing, keeping us all waiting for bloody ages. Picard has been, he's now assimilated, but don't worry, we'll be back in a year so you can see what happens.
Yeah. Will they save him? Oh, yeah, Riker's the captain, and now they got Shelby, who was sexually harassed by the Admiral. Oh, yeah, sorry.
For God's sakes, Nick, no.
Oh, sorry, that's a different conversation.
How much time has passed in the 6 episodes? I don't know, really. They do mention star dates in the episodes, or some of them at least, so you could probably piece it together and work out how much time has passed. I imagine a month or 2. Depends. I don't know. What's the guess? How much time?
I think they reference like a couple of weeks. One of the episodes.
Time
so yeah, a couple of months.
Yeah, I'd say probably maybe 2 months has passed since episode 1. It would make sense. TNG sort of progressed like that as well. Obviously, they had more episodes though, so it's like they technically watching an episode of Next Gen with 26 episodes, or I think it's 26, 22, yeah, something like that. Time passed a lot more then, because that's almost 4 months in a way. Yeah, it's roughly 4 months, I think, with 26 episodes, roughly. Right. So time would pass a lot longer with watching a whole season of that. So fun when I commence. Boimler's reference to the sisters did remind me of the Delaney twins on Voyager. Ensign Kim picked the wrong twin. That is actually... Oh, I remember that reference now. That is very odd. I wonder if the episodes have been cut down for transmission and there were a lot of scenes unused. Yeah, so I believe there has been a discussion online about why they're not longer and why certain episodes haven't included like cold opens, etc. So, I think there is something to do with that. And to us, the format, we've discussed this before in like previous streams, the format of Lower Decks and the time allotted to each episode, it fits well. In some episodes, it feels like they've crammed too much in. In other episodes, it fits really well. How do you guys feel about this episode? Do you think it was paced rather well and it all fit together? Or do you think it was a bit rushed or a bit too slow? Dom, what do you think?
I think it was paced really well. I think it's paced well if I don't notice if it's been going on too long or too short.
Yeah,
it's
I'd
just
agree.
felt like, that was a half an hour episode. 22 minutes or whatever. So I thought it was really well paced. Yeah.
And Nick?
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think this was probably the tightest script that they've had so far, and they've done some really good works. And And I would argue that episode 2 is probably now my least favorite, just based off of the script work on that one, in comparison to the other ones. But this one was probably the tightest, leanest one, and it all was very well connected. Like, we did not spend too much time with the A, B, or C teams.
Yeah.
To where they became like, felt like it was dragging. And every scene, every time we did a jump back to the other groups, they were being impacted by what was happening from the previous thing that we were just watching. So when, we were getting, when the thing got stolen out of the, or when he dropped it back off at his bunk because he wanted to go take a nap or put the thing in his head or whatever the hell it was he was doing with it, like that led into the people who were throwing garbage at the ship and it was getting damaged, which then led into the Tendi and Rutherford, and Badgie going crazy. And every single sequence was absolutely utilized. And even the choo-choo thing, which was kind of like this weird throwaway joke where they ran off and left left old boy there kind of working, was still referenced later on when they were talking to Delta Shift because they were there as well. So every scene had like a very specific purpose. There was no waste at all. And yeah, I feel like this was the leanest, tightest script that they've had so far. The pacing on this one was great, phenomenal, I think.
All right. So as we approach the end of the stream for our last sort of talking point of this week, Star Trek Day. Now, obviously, Star Trek Day took place this week on September 8th. It's a fantastic day, and I really have to say hats off to CBS and the Star Trek team for putting on a real class event. It was fantastic, to be honest. Like, I went in there expecting something to go critically wrong, given track records of certain companies. So I was like, yep, this is not going to work. But I was really pleasantly surprised on not only the programming he put together, but how well the whole sort of day's festivities, if you could say it like that, held up all together. Now, me and Dom obviously covered it live for Trek Central Twitter and also YouTube channels, etc., which was real fun to do. We were sat here for about 5 hours because it was one hell of a long panel session. And then we did the pub quiz as well, which was all right.
We did. Yeah.
That was luckily we never streamed that one because I think we probably would have been banned in the amount of laughs and jokes we got off on it. If you did see any of us in the chat, I apologize. I got a bit carried away with how many pogs I could put in the chat at that point. It was quite funny. I enjoyed myself.
We were having a good time though. It was a good time. It was a great experience. Like you said, like they did it kind of came out of nowhere.
We only got like 5 days
notice or something like that. Yeah, it was less than a week, and they were like, Star Trek Day, and here it's coming, and get ready. And which I think helped it in its favor because it didn't allow people to sit around. It didn't really give any of us time to sit around and theorize about what Star Trek Day was going to be and how it was going to have and what we were going to learn. We kind of talked a little bit internally, but it was just a great event. They did phenomenal. They came out of the bag hot with the trailer, which people loved, and the panels were really, really interesting, and they covered all sorts of ground, and the event was really well done. And they were doing fantastic work by releasing it on the Star Trek website, sharing it out on social media, and then getting those videos and the clips put right onto YouTube. And everything was like, it was like as soon as I remember watching it live on the StarTrek.com website when the Lower Decks trailer the mid-season trailer was put in there. And then I think it was under 20 minutes, and the trailer was already on the CBS All Access YouTube channel. They had put it up there. And they were definitely on their A game for sure. So tip of the hat, they normally do fuck these things up pretty badly.
What a great way to put it.
Well, they do. They're not the best. And I mean, I made a whole video about how terrible.
Yeah, true. I mean, I expect as well, we said this, I expected something to go wrong. It's like the Comic-Con at home panel. They copyright strike their own live stream, to which I was pissing myself on Twitter at. Like, it's a genuine mistake because it's their YouTube CID taking over. But it's just like, oh my god, how can you just do this? So it's because CBS, like some other companies, and Disney are pretty lax on it, believe it or not, but they are very OTT when it comes to any of their content being re-uploaded, to the point where we've hit brick walls before, and I won't discuss it for the sake of professionalism too much. However, it's like they're very OTT if you re-upload it or use any of their stuff. When it comes to Disney and Star Wars, they're pretty lax on it, to be honest. If you like straight rip and upload, they're probably going to have a hissy fit. But you can re-upload a Star Wars trailer and not be copyright striked or noticed, etc. They're fine with that because at the end of the day, common sense suggests, like any other company would probably do this, Disney like, oh, if you're re-uploading a trailer, that's just free promo for us at the end of the day. If your viewers are going to see it, that's free promo. CBS, on the other hand, no, we're just going to copyright strike it and block it in countries. And that's just...
very different approach to it.
It's an archaic way of doing it, really. Like it's a very old way of doing things. And I've said this before, I've said it publicly. It's like, we can't post the Lower Decks trailer to our Facebook page because it's immediately copyright striked. And no other person could do it. Like, I've seen a lot of smaller Trek channels and bigger ones just get striked because of like posting it there. I'm like, in my opinion, posting it, if you're running a fan page or if you're just running your own sci-fi page, there's nothing wrong with posting a trailer. You're not claiming ownership of it. Hell, the trailer has enough time CBS All Access and Star Trek TM are stamped in it, with also the trademarks. You can't claim ownership to it. It's just very, difficult. I was very disappointed with CBS All Access and them leaving Enterprise Archer out of the promotional. Yeah, I saw a lot of this online. They left Archer out of the promo thing. I'm not sure why that was done.
They still had him in the trailer.
Yeah, he's in
we
the
saw
trailer.
hundreds of times.
Oh, yeah, trailer. Let's roll the trailer 50 million times before they watch the stream.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah. It's the thing is they put. I mean, we can get. I mean, the thing is people want to shit on CBS for virtue signaling and the woke agenda and the SJW stuff. But the thing is they're very open about it. They're very focused on like, these are the characters. This is the message that we're giving off. This is what we're going for. And they put those people on that poster in those positions in that size based off of what they were going for. Yeah. And is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know, but they did that intentionally. I don't think it was a slight, because you can't put everybody on the
No, it's like
not everybody that was in the live stream was on the. I didn't see Mike McMahon's fucking face on the poster. Okay, so it's not everybody was on the poster. Not everybody made it. Not everybody needs to go onto Twitter and cry and shit their pants about it. Shame them into making a different one.
I'm a big Archer fan. Like, I love Captain Archer. One of my favourite Captains. Enterprise, one of my favourite series. Did I lose any sleep over the fact he wasn't on the poster? No. Actually, I didn't even notice until someone told me. I think somebody put it in our group chat as like, oh, someone's put this on Twitter saying, like, Archer's not there, and there's a big hoo-ha. I'm like, really? I mean, I'm just looking at... I've got it around here somewhere. I didn't see a problem. I thought the poster looked beautiful, to be honest. Like, their branding with Star Trek Day, I thought it looked great.
It was very well done.
Like, it was lovely, like, a little bit of graphic there.
All the things, like the ancillary stuff for Star Trek Day, such as, like, the emojis for
on the Twitter things.
Twitter. The fact we got, a tiny Archer on hashtag Star Trek End, that's enough for me. That's enough. And then we got an entire panel with Scott Bakula.
Yeah, who's not been like at a Star Trek event for years.
He hasn't been
brought back
the Star Trek convention.
Right.
From 2012, I believe, was this last one. So that's 8 years. They managed to get him back.
So just looking at the poster,
it was a very nice panel.
Looking at the poster here, in front and centre, we've got Michael Burnham on the left and Sir Patrick Stewart as Picard on the right. These are CBS's two giant flagship shows at the minute, Discovery and Picard. Whether you like it or not, these are CBS's current flagship shows, and they are the face of Star Trek right now in the 21st century. That is essentially Star Trek right now. The Discovery is also the primary ship. It's been in 2 seasons now, soon to be in 3. Oh, we can't put the La Serena there, or La Serena, because it's only been in 1 season and isn't really is the main ship, but it's not as Discovery is. It's not the Star Trek ship, if that makes sense.
Right, it's not a Starfleet ship.
Exactly.
It's not the Discovery. Right.
And so you've got the Vulcan sloop there. That's 101 Star Trek. You've got Spock, Leonard Nimoy Spock there. George Takei as Sulu there. Obviously, Spock always have him. He is the symbol of Star Trek. Maybe Spock is more recognisable than Captain Kirk. Some would argue. Some will argue that. Like, if I show you a picture, if I go out in the street tomorrow and show someone a picture of Spock and someone a picture of William Shatner as Kirk, I wonder who they'd associate more with Star Trek. Who's going to be the first guess? So some would say it's Spock. Obviously, Kirk is very small on the poster. Big hoo-ha about that. You got Anson Mount there, because Strange New Worlds will be the next big flagship for CBS. Strange New Worlds with Anson Mount. So many people have wanted that series. It'll be it. You've obviously got Captain Sisko down there. Then obviously you've got Nichelle. I never pronounced the name correctly.
Michelle Nichols.
There we go. I always actually say Michelle instead. You've got her down there. Also got Kate Mulgrew as Captain Janeway. It's Voyager's 25th anniversary. You're definitely going to chuck something like that in there. Enterprise, though, there's no room to fit it in, really, unless you look at the bottom there. But that also ruins the branding in a sense. I thought it looked fine to me. I was like, yeah, you could probably squeeze Archer in there if you really want to. I saw some people replace Pike with Archer. It's like, well, yeah, I guess that works. But also, they're hyping up Strange New Worlds ahead of time, as that is going to be the next big Star Trek series. Pike Spock, number 1, is going to be the next iteration of Trek, along with Discovery Picard. Lower Decks isn't up there because... I mean, there may be a reason why Lower Decks isn't there, but personally, I'd say it's not the big live-action thing, so they don't display it along with it. It would look weird to have the Lower Decks animation in that branding, I'd say. I mean,
it wouldn't fit.
It wouldn't fit. It doesn't fit the style.
It doesn't fit there. It doesn't go there. Not with the style of poster that they've created. It would look very stupid. It would look stupid. It would make the poster look dumb. So
I saw a lot of arguments about, they've not included such and such. It's like, well, it's just a fucking picture at the end of the day, isn't it? It's not the end of the world.
The other thing, too, is again, like, there are so many characters inside
50
of Star
years,
Trek.
Christ.
Right. And you know, it's each of us have who our favorites are.
Yeah.
You know, but to say like they exclude these characters is a bold statement, I think, especially like the captains. Like the captains are the most featured image on all of Star Trek media, whether it's posters or banners or forum, you know, things or T-shirts or whatever. The captains are everywhere. It's either the ships or the captains, and they're all on there because those are the flagship characters for each of the shows. You know, so I not having Archer on there, I think, is whatever. I think and the whole argument of they put on Sisko, Nichelle Nichols, and Michael Burnham and Janeway on the poster to virtue signal or to prop up women or prop up, you know, Black Lives Matter and all this other stuff. They were just virtue signaling. And the thing is in that situation, number one, act like as if CBS is the only company on the planet that's trying to do some kind of angle with social justice is bullshit, because literally every company on the planet is doing it. But then, of course, you deal with a situation where it's like, you're damned if you do it, you're damned if you don't. If they don't do it, people get mad. If they do something, even as subtle as this, there's still people who are mad. So it is what it is. I agree. Like they put these characters on and they put them on there. Like it's just one poster. Like it's just one fucking poster. Like just I don't know. I don't know. It's
Which
not like
wasn't used that much
from the franchise.
Like that was. I think that poster itself was used like for a couple of social media posts, the header for the website, but the rest of it they had subheaders on the actual Star Trek website with each person lining it. And obviously the DS9 panel, you had Nana Visitor there, Strange New Worlds panel, obviously Pike, the Enterprise one was Scott Bakula's Archer himself, so they had plenty of advertisement across it. It's like I also saw some people saying, "Oh, I'm not supporting this stream because it's celebrating the modern agenda of Star Trek," and Alex Kurtzman did it. I'm like, have you even paid attention? It's celebrating the past and future of Trek, for fuck's sake. Right. Just sort of drive it. Yeah. But overall, it was a really good event.
It was a great event. I feel like Star Trek is being very open about what their feelings are about movements and stuff like that, and
as they should,
you know, as they should be, you know, and as they've always have been, you know, and then people say, well, it was better, it was more written, and it was more subdued back in the day, and they were able to weave it into the narrative, and it wasn't so in your face, and these writers are terrible because they don't know how to make it more subdued. I would raise up the argument that I don't think they want it to be subdued. I think they are bringing it to the forefront, and they're making it kind of more about the story. Now, I don't want to see a full episode. We've talked about this. Like, I don't want to see an episode we have our non-binary and transgender characters coming up in Discovery. I don't want to see an episode that's just dedicated to talking about their sexuality. I want them to be their own characters. I don't want their character to be their sexual identity. I want their sexual identity to just be seasoning to who their characters are. And I want to know these characters. So hopefully they'll play that right, and I'm confident that they'll do good, and we'll see what happens, you know. But yeah, I don't know.
I totally agree with you there.
The poster thing is a big issue.
What you say about, you know, obviously the new transgender and non-binary characters, it's fantastic having them in Trek because it pushes Star Trek's idealism of diversity and, you know, infinite diversity and infinite combinations even more. And you say there, like, I don't want a whole episode of them discussing, you know, the sexuality, etc., and gender. I don't think that is like a good idea because that way it's too in your face. Now, me and Dom discussed this, I think, last week as we finished our stream, and we was talking about Doctor Who. Was it me and you was talking about it? It might have been, or it might have been someone else. But Doctor Who did this thing years ago where they introduced a new companion for Peter Capaldi's 12th Doctor. And they introduced her. She's called Bill. And in the first episode alone, they shoved it down our throats that she was bisexual, which is nothing wrong with that. Fully support it. But every 5 minutes, it seemed like the character mentioned the fact she was bisexual. And it's like, you're just overdoing it now. You can tell it's written in a way, you just go, by the way, in case you've forgotten. And it's like, that is like too much, really. And that was the point where I got sick of it myself. So I don't have a problem if the character's bisexual. Make it a part of the character, not the fact it needs to be stated out of a fucking foghorn every 5 minutes. And it just got really... I hope Star Trek doesn't do that, and I don't think it will do, because Star Trek has been dealing with these issues a lot longer than other shows. And, you know, it's dealt with it before. Let's do it again.
They're going to do fine with it.
Like, you know, look back to Culber and Stamets' relationship in season 1. That was just casually revealed. There wasn't a big song and dance about it. You know, it wasn't running around the ship, etc. It was just casually revealed. Well. You just saw them in their quarters. They were doing their teeth together. No big song and dance about it. It's just two people in a relationship getting on fine. That's how it should be. But obviously people made a big song and dance about it. I'm going to go watch the episode again later because I want to see it. But it's like, I'm pretty sure they just casually revealed it And that was the end of it. And that was like the best way to do it. You're not making a big thing out, because it isn't a big thing out of it. Two men in a relationship, LGBT, any of it like that. It's just normal at the end of the day. Stick it on a clip and quote it somewhere.
They did it. I mean, and that's the thing. That's why I feel very confident that they're going to do these other characters a good justice, because the Stamets Cole relationship I felt was the most realist of the relationships, especially when he came back, and then they had that whole situation between the two of them and the rift between the two of them. And like even them like kissing, like it was a big thing when they kissed on camera or whatever, but it wasn't done in a way that was gratuitous, and like it wasn't like reminding us every 5 minutes that they're a gay couple. It was like he was about to get into the chamber and do like 230 jumps, and it was potentially going to kill him, and it almost did kill him, and it was a very serious moment, and they did it right there, and I thought it was perfect. Like
it fit well. Like anybody normal would do that to their partner. I don't have a partner right now, but if your partner stepped in something like that, you'd go, hang on a minute.
I'd probably kiss them more than once. I'd probably be like, maybe don't get in the booth. Maybe we just don't do the booth.
How about we get somebody else? How about we have a background character to do it instead?
Yeah, exactly.
Get me somebody from Lower Decks. They can do it instead.
I'd say, talking about showing the representation with Paul and Hugh, I would say they did it much better than the straight relationship between Michael and Ash Tyler.
Yeah.
That was way more forced than a relationship. And I hope that, tying us back to season 3 of Discovery, that if they are going down a romantic route with the new character Cleveland Booker,
it looks like
Michael, and it looks like they are, I hope it's done well, because I mean, I liked Michael and Ash, but I felt it was pushed too much.
It was, and it was done in a way that, and again, like this kind of goes back into that thing. It's like the writing is an issue with Discovery, especially. Like the writing is a very strong, like a big strong problem, and it's frustrating, right? Because they did such a great job with the Culber Stamets relationship, and then they have this Ash Tyler and Burnham relationship that was a disaster in terms of writing, and it felt very forced. It was very obvious to everyone that he was Vox, so the reveal was only literally to Michael Burnham. Like nobody watching the show was like, "Oh my gosh, he's a Klingon that made that looks like fucking." Like nobody was surprised by that. It was actually kind of tedious that it took so long to get to that. And then their interactions during season 2 were very weird, and I'm glad they didn't really try to push it too much. And I'm hoping that with the Booker situation, and that's something against Shazad Latif as an actor. I don't think it was his fault as an actor. Definitely not. I thought he played a great character. I thought he did the best he could. And I just feel like now that maybe we've gotten to know these characters a little bit better, this Booker situation will have more time to breathe, and we'll be able to kind of engage that relationship a little bit more naturally. I know I'm still personally, we've talked about this a lot because we theorized that they were going to get together. I'm still against the idea of Michael Burnham falling for this guy, because
it's like every guy she meets at this point in time is getting a little bit repetitive now.
Right. I don't want her character to just be the one that just constantly gets into a relationship. She doesn't, like, her character's better than that, I think.
It undermines the character slightly, I feel, if she needs to get in a relationship with somebody every 5 minutes. And I was going to say, when Dom just brought it up, it's like, it just made me think, like, oh, she's falling for... It's like, let's introduce a male character to be the partner of Michael Burnham. It's like, no disrespect to her, the character, etc. It's just like, does she need a partner? It's like, plenty of other characters are getting on fine. Saroo's not exactly got a wife or husband, I don't know, in the next 5 minutes, is he? Well, you probably have trouble finding a Kelpian in the 32nd century, maybe, but hey, so I said one thing in the chat here. Obviously, Jet Reno's back as well. Yep, I was loving the fact Jet Reno's in the trailer. F for that. Also, where's Commander Nan? Is she still going to be part of it, or did she die mid-transit? I'm not sure about that one. I wonder if I can explain that. Because it's Rachel, is it Rachel Luttrell or something is her name? The actress? I think so.
I think something like that.
Yeah.
So when Nan, Giorgio, and Leland were fighting in the spinning corridor,
yeah, she got knocked out pretty much.
She got knocked out, and that was the last we saw of her. So she was on the ship. It would be weird if she just died, and they're like, "Oh, Nan's
I mean, we know Discovery crashes as well in the trailer, so they could easily get out a free card there. It's like, oh, she died during one of the lower decks. What a shame.
I think
Yeah.
she fills Ash Tyler's place with being the chief security officer.
Yeah, it's just interesting not to see her in the
Discovery,
trailer.
so
So
it's interesting that we don't see her in the trailer, but I hope that she's still around because I did kind of like her character.
yeah, she's pretty good.
But I mean,
You know,
I enjoyed Jet Reno more. But yeah,
Yes, I mean, I think we all did. But I'm going to throw one more thing out there about the
Go for
Booker
it.
situation because I just thought about it, which is it could be very much a situation where, because there's a time period where she's no longer with the Discovery and that's where her hair grows out. And we saw that time lapse in the first trailer. So there's obviously some period of time where she's waiting to get in contact with them. And so I'm assuming that's potentially where her and Booker will kind of begin to kindle that relationship a little bit. But it could be a situation where she's got to go off to save the galaxy and Booker's got to go do his thing. And it could just be like a flame, and like he's just a flame and they don't necessarily engage in a relationship. And it's like something they kind of play with maybe in the 4th season or the 5th season or wherever how many seasons we're going to get. And they kind of go back to it at different points in time. But maybe it won't be a full-blown relationship, which I think would actually be a little bit better because I think it allows her to have a bit more of the human side to it, but it doesn't overwhelm her character. So we don't know what it's going to be like. We have no idea, obviously, yet. But yeah, it was just another idea that came to my head.
I just have to say, talking about the time skip, like what we see, Burnham's hair is amazing.
Yes.
I love it.
She looks
Her
better.
whole new style looks great.
The hairstyle looks,
The
the hairstyle looks great.
Yeah, I think it's for me, her hairstyle's definitely gotten better as the seasons have gone on. Season 1 was okay. Season 2 was really good, and now season 3 is like better.
Her hairstyle in the pilot episode was good, and then they changed it. You didn't like that? I liked it. I said again because it's personal preferences. I liked that one, and then they changed it to the more curlier hair, which I didn't like. And then
top,
and then they kind of grew it out a little bit and did a bit more stylization with it in the 2nd season, and now this one with the long braids. Like, I think it looks great. And she looks great in that, and then her wearing it in uniform, I think it looks cool. Yeah, I'm very excited for it.
Somebody, Michael Parker, thank you for donating $10 to the TC channel. Good job, guys. Keep up the good work. Let's hope for an 8th season of DS9. Yeah, that would be fantastic. We actually did a video a while back on what the theoretical 8th season of DS9 would be about. It's a very controversial video. The original writing team, including Ira Stephen Bear and Ron D. Moore, got together to prototype what would be a theoretical season 8. It was a part of the What We Left Behind Deep Space Nine documentary. We've done a video on it. You can check it out here on the channel. Oddly enough, that video's comment section has a lot of people going, oh, they've ruined the image of DS9. It's like, these are the original writers. They know more about the show than you probably. But it's like, I love how now, like, DS9's controversies and like different like writing styles is seen as like ruining the past show. It's like, it's interesting how time passes on, isn't it? I love that sort of thing. But yeah, anyway, I also saw some people commenting about the views on the panels. Yeah, the panels on CBS, they got some good views, to be honest, which is good. I saw a lot of comments about them online. Nick, I expect you've seen it as well. People commenting on the views of like Star Trek Day and the panels. Personally, I thought it looked fine. As somebody who does SEO analytics for a living.
The issue with anytime that they do stuff like that, you're not going to. Those videos don't get a lot of traction.
Yeah.
They don't get a lot of views. But ultimately, it's really not that big a deal. If you were actually on Twitter and on Facebook during the actual Star Trek Day event and you actually were experiencing it live, like you guys were and I was, and the fever pitch of excitement that was happening across the internet was extraordinarily high, and it was trending both globally and in the US.
Yeah.
And which is a big thing, which it does not do. Not the paid trending, because they do pay to promote the trends, but actual traditional trending. It was trending on both the global and US Twitters, and it, I'm not fazed by that. I'm not surprised by it. I mean, yeah, of course, like, that doesn't mean anything. You also go back and look at the Lower Decks trailer that they released, and everybody downvoted it into oblivion, and they had to turn the comments off. Yeah,
it's because it's a hate bomb. People are just downvoting it. The actual trailer for Star Trek Day, I'm pretty sure it's got 2.5 million views. So therefore, that, as somebody who I'm pretty sure it's got that. Just fact check it for me a minute if you can. I'm pretty sure it's got a lot of views on the Star Trek Day one. It's on the CBS All Access channel. All Access. I'm pretty sure. I may have read it wrong. Maybe it's 1 point or something. pretty sure it's got a ton of views on it. Come on, be correct. Also, I've really misread something. There you go. Star Trek Day trailer, CBS All Access, 2.5 million views. Let me mute that before I'm striked. 1 week ago, 3rd of September, 2.5 million views. That there gives you an estimate alone of how much roughly live views you get. You're not going to get 2 million live viewers on a panel. I mean, I'd be fucking surprised if they did. But 2.5 million views on a trailer, you are going to get some hefty views on your live panel. Of course, your views for the individual panels on YouTube wouldn't add up or make sense because people have already watched it and seen it live. People have already been watching on Twitch, or they've saved the stream and watch it back later. CBS were streaming on Twitch. And also on Twitter.
It's just the only angle that people have to attack.
But I look at it as somebody who does like social analytics. I mean, part of my company is like, we have to judge like how well videos and stuff do. And it's like, just because like it doesn't make any sense the way it's being complained about. And I see it online, it's like, it's a failure. It's not. It's just sorry. I need to go off a rant now and just say it because I've not said it all week.
It's the only angle that they have because it was a very successful event and it got people very excited and it just reminds me of that meme with the stick figures where everyone's sitting around the TV and the meme behind them is like, this sucks. Stop having fun, and that's really all. I mean, that's it's just a joke at this point.
Like, I don't want to come across as like shilling for CBS or anything, but honestly, Star Trek Day, really successful event. I said to Dom when we was in a call for 5 hours, and at the end, I'm pretty sure I said I was really impressed with that because no failures throughout the whole out, and it held up really well, and it was a really good day of programming. I enjoyed it. Lots of people on Twitter, Facebook enjoyed it. It was really good. Before we do end off this stream, and 1 second, Dom, Law Reloaded has donated $5 that says, I think we should see Boyman and the Captain hook up. Thoughts? No, just no. But Dom, what was you going to say?
We're not going to see them hook up.
Let's escape this fan fiction quickly.
First thing that I'm just trying to talk about Law Reloaded. I think it's Law Reloaded. Donation. Jack Quaid and Dawn, what's the actor, the captain?
Dawn Lewis.
Lewis. They were in the latest episode of The Boys together.
Oh, nice.
So they've actually filmed 2 things together that came out a day apart. But I was trying to say, at first I was like quite skeptical about the panels with them only being like half an hour, but they were really, really well paced. They couldn't get into as much detail as big convention panels, but really they were just what we needed.
I think the panels for Star Trek Day were like perfectly balanced in a way because they came across. I was going to ping someone. They came across like well balanced. Like, it would have been loved to have like an extra half hour for the Enterprise panel. However, there's only so much you can do in virtual programming. But overall, Star Trek Day, a grand success. Gentlemen, I think... after you, Nick.
Big success. Sorry. Yeah, no, I was going to bring up, like, people who think that we're shilling, like, listen, the San Diego Comic-Con event that they put on was not good. It was rough. They spent 45 minutes reading scripts from the last episode of Discovery, awkwardly trying to time it through the Zoom call. It wasn't a very good event. This was a good event. The Star Trek Day was really well done. I'm just throwing that out there.
Paul Reloaded is now paying to troll the channel. He says, Boimler, Captain Brown and Love Triangle. They fight for this affection. I may be paying you to troll you. There we go. Right.
Don't say Marin and
thank
Captain
you, Lower.
Love Triangle, because that's like mother and daughter.
Yeah, oh God, no. Oh, no. Lore, no.
So,
a love triangle. I don't like that. Oh.
But it's her daughter as well. That's just even weirder. The fuck?
Well, I think it's Boimler and the Captain and Boimler and Mariner, not all 3 of them together.
So
depends
Law
which way you look at
think
it.
You're getting your money's worth in trolling us because
He is getting his
all.
money's worth.
And on that note, we've passed an hour, which means we are going to end off very soon. Gents, I think we've discussed everything with Star Trek Discovery, Lower Decks, and Star Trek Day. If we go any further, this stream is going to go off to rails, walls, nacelles, whatever. But I think we've discussed everything today in terms of the events. So in terms of what we've got to look forward to now, we've obviously got 4 more episodes of Star Trek Lower Decks, 7, 8, 9, 10. And obviously we've got Q turning up at some point. Maybe it's next week, maybe it's episode 8, we don't know just yet. And then we've got Discovery kicking off on October 15th, with an international distributor being Netflix, as usual, over on October 16th for that stream on there. So we've got a lot of Star Trek to look forward to. Gents, one last thing before I wanted to let you go. So I put all the Discovery dates in my calendar, as I usually do. Stop smiling at the camera, I can see that. I've opened up Amazon instead of a calendar. Now, Discovery's season 3, it has, is it 13 episodes in it? I think it might be. Yeah, so
I think so.
Roughly, if it airs every Thursday, that takes it to the 7th of January. However, what I have noticed is Discovery does air each Thursday, which means this year it airs on Christmas Eve, and then on New Year's Eve, that's be episode 12 on New Year's Eve, and episode 11 on Christmas Eve. Do you think they're gonna do a mid-season break, or do you reckon they're just gonna roll with it?
I think they're going to roll with it. I mean, they've said that they're going to do the continuous 20+ weeks of.
Yeah,
Star
I'm
Trek.
fucked in
They're
that
pushing.
case.
I think
Yeah.
from the 23 weeks, it would be weird if they were just like, it's 20 weeks plus 3 weeks.
Over here, yeah, no, it's all the way through.
It's 23 weeks continuous.
Well,
So,
everyone, I look forward to seeing you on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and hopefully, well, actually, it's not the day beforehand, so yeah, if it was like New Year's Day, it might be an inaudible commentary, to be honest. But it's like, hello,
Yeah, it wouldn't be very
welcome
good,
to the
yeah.
drunk review, the hungover
Yeah, exactly.
review.
That's a different stream.
But oh,
Maybe we could do that. I don't know.
I'm slightly. To be honest, I did have the idea. I said this to Dom and Luke the other day when we was chatting in there about, because it's on the 31st. Like, I'll come up for New Year's Eve. We do the review, and then we have a New Year's party. Could be a great idea.
That might be a good idea.
Yeah, we'll see how well it goes. Right, everyone, thank you very much for watching my stream. We'll be back next week with more Star Trek Lower Decks discussions for episode 7 and anything else that happens throughout the week. Thank you once again for tuning in, and all our donations this week, including Amir, Michael, Law, and Law again for trolling the stream. Thank you very much, Law. We must have you back on the stream. Actually, we had Law on, we've not had Law on before, have we? Do we have him on before?
No, we should get him on the stream.
We should have Law on the stream.
Yeah.
Law, I will send you an email or follow me on Twitter, and I will sort that at some point. Could be an idea for next week, Nick, as you're sorting that one, aren't you?
He's not welcome here.
Wow.
He could take his fan fiction love triangles and shove it.
Yeah, we'll have him on for Discovery, so he can't write the love like triangles for the Lower Decks anymore.
He'll keep bringing the conversation back to it. Yeah.
Law, if you make an actual triangle and tweet it out with all of us tagged in, then you can come on 1 week. That's the rules we've just made.
I want to see it. I want to see the love triangle.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to my 2 excellent hosts today, Dominic and Nicholas. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Fuck's sake. We're going to end off here, and we'll be back next week at 9 p.m. at BST. Goodbye, everyone.